Hello. How are you?
I'm great. How are you doing?
Good. Can you hear me well?
I can hear you fantastic. Yes, thank you.
Perfect. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for being on. It's truly a pleasure. So I was just kind of introducing and looking through, following you, reading your stuff. It really is kind of interesting how, at the end of the day, it's not rocket science on how to be happy. It's just a matter of, figuring out kind of how to customize these universal principles, these things that are out there that have proven to work, and different people kind of do different ways to express them in their lives and share with people. So I'm dying to get your take on all this and get into it. So first, thanks for being on. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. My morning has been great, so I'm good. How are you?
Love it. I'm excellent. Thank you. You look beautiful. Thanks for looking presentable. I had one guy one time I interviewed. It looks like he literally just woke up from a nap and rolled out of bed. Oh wait, that was me. No.
That is hilarious.
But yeah, I mean, it's funny. It's funny what you get. You never know. So let's get into it. Why don't you tell us a little bit of your backstory, how you got here, and why you're trying to help people become the happiest and best versions of themselves.
So so I am an attorney by day and a happiness expert by heart, as I like to say. I've been practicing law now for maybe 17 years, but it was never necessarily my path. A couple of years ago, I really started asking the big question, like, why? Why am I here? Why was I put on earth? What is my purpose? There has to be more. And I'll tell you, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And so all of a sudden, my life started collapsing around me. And I was like, okay, wait, I want more, but I don't want the discomfort. So
this is the common thing, right? We all want more, but we don't want to work for it, right? Especially in this day and age where we've got, everything at the click of a button. We can get anything delivered, but not our happiness. So sorry to interrupt you. Continue.
No problem. So you made a good point. You said, as you were starting the session, that you were hoping that things wouldn't go bad. So our thoughts really do become things. That's a huge point for us to make.
I know. I just commented on that. I'm like, I jinxed myself. Right.
Yes.
Right. Universe is listening. Yep. All right. So continue on with, so with your journey and how you got here. And then let's get into, the meat of, how you found this happiness, the system you're using, and how some direct tips and things we can give our viewers and listeners that they can walk away and say, yeah, that clicks. I can try that, and help them start building their habits.
Okay. So I was just really vested, and I just wanted to understand why some people were more predisposed to being happier than others, right? I've always been an eternal optimist. I always see the bright side, to the point where I know where my friends are annoyed when they call me and they're complaining, and I'll stop them midway. And I said, but what are you grateful for? What can you learn from the situation, right? And it doesn't mean that we can't stop to learn the lessons or to realize that, yes, bad things happen, but how are we going to move forward from the bad things?
Yeah, and I would frame that, again, we talked at the beginning about how there's different ways to package the exact same thing, but what you're saying to me is what I call a growth owner versus a fixed victim, right? Yeah. The person that complains, poor me, my life sucks, there's nothing I can do about it, the fixed victim, versus the growth owner that says, all right, that sucked. I'm not gonna jump up for joy about it. I'm going to feel that and own it, but what did I learn from it? How can I grow from it? And how can I become happier as a result? And how can I pivot into something else that I will be happy versus dwell in it, right?
Exactly. So you mentioned some tips. So I'll even just start with the science, right? 40% of our happiness is within our control. 50% is genetic, and 10% is based on our life circumstances. For instance, the pandemic that we all found ourselves in. 40% is where the magic happens. We have so much control over what is happening in our lives, and so many people are just waking up every day and just living as if they're passive participants in their life as opposed to an active participant. And I'll even dig down further. We have 60,000 to 80,000 thoughts per day, Will, and 80% of those thoughts are negative thoughts. And it makes sense. Through evolution, we needed to think, oh, let me protect myself, because we didn't want the bear to eat us or the lion to attack us, right? So we were in defense mode. And so out of those thoughts, we are repeating those negative thoughts 95% of the time. So 80% of our thoughts are negative, and 95% of the time, we're thinking the same thing over and over again. So what I like to tell my clients, audiences, is be an observer of your thoughts. Literally, one day, as you're going through the day, pay attention to what you're thinking. And you'll realize you're thinking about the same thing the majority of the time. So if you wake up, what are you thinking as you wake up? I hate my job. All right, what are you thinking next? Oh, I'm going to be stuck in traffic. Then what are you thinking? My boss annoys me. What am I thinking? What am I going to have for dinner? What am I thinking? I don't really want to work out.
Yeah.
Really, really down and start observing what you're thinking throughout the day, because we cannot fix what we don't confront.
I love that, and that's exactly right. And right, it's that I break everything into two steps in terms of trying to like make changes. The first one is awareness, which is so huge. I feel like people try to jump right into changing things, and they haven't really taken a step back and been like, all right, well, what's really going on? Like, what are the habits I've developed? What are the thoughts that I'm thinking? And just like you said, I think we tend to have these patterns, I don't think we tend, we do. We have these patterns and habits. Thoughts are habits just like anything else. And if you're thinking the same types of thoughts every day, those start to actually, they literally change. Your neurons in your brain actually change. What do they say? The neurons that fire together wire together. So you start to actually, this becomes like a staple and it's on autopilot, and you start thinking this right away. And so it's not easy, but what you want to do is you want to step back and be like, all right, this is one that is hurting me every single day. I'm becoming less and less happy every time I have these thoughts and stuff, and figure out a way to stop it and to pivot, right? So I have my own little way to do that. You want to share how you help people to do that?
Okay, so first thing, everybody who's listening to this broadcast today, you have to come up with a deliberate morning routine, one that serves you. Do not just wake up and pick up your phone, because you are allowing people to put their energy on your day. So you have to design the life and the day that you want to have from the minute you open your eyes. And really, my process starts the night before. I am going to sleep. I am saying my gratitude. I'm listening to positive affirmations, whether on YouTube. I am meditating on my Peloton app. So when I'm going to bed, I am already in a state of calm and expectation for the next morning. When I wake up, and I am a believer, and there's a Bible verse that says, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And so every morning I renew my mind. Before the world can tell me anything about Rochelle, I have already set in stone the things I want to believe about me. And so I am starting with my affirmations. And I shared one this morning. Whatever I do shall prosper. I say that every day. Whatever I do shall prosper. And so I start with affirmations. I am praying. I do not pick up my phone at all. At all. And people are in awe of that. I'm like, no. I am in control of my day.
I mean, what I got out of that morning ritual, and I just want to, kind of continue with what you just said and sort of put it all together, because it's so important. I have a morning, an afternoon, and a night ritual. I do feel like morning is probably the most important of the three, because it's like you're getting up and at the end of the day, it's like my ritual is made up of, I call them habits and habit clusters and opportunities. So like what I first did is, and I got this from a book called Atomic Habits by James Clear. Have you read it by chance? Great book, right? And he talked about, recording, which again, this is that awareness part, the importance of recording your thoughts, or excuse me, your everyday actions for, he mentioned to do it for a week. I ended up doing it for like 3-4 days, because one day is not enough, because each day, even though you do a lot of the same things, there's slight variation. So it's good to get 3. And I literally just was writing down all the things I was doing almost on autopilot without thinking of them, right? Including like taking a shower. And then what I did is I divided them up into failure habits, neutral habits, and success habits. Right. And I actually color coded them. He didn't mention this part, but I did this, which I thought was fun, and it worked well. And I could literally see all the red. And then it was like my goal was to turn all the black, which were neutral, and all the red, which were failure habits, into success habits. Right. And so like and I used habit stacking, which anybody that's read Atomic Habits is familiar, as a really cool way to take habits that were already on autopilot that I was doing and actually tacking on a habit that I wanted to do. Like, so for instance, I used to just shower, and, you know, for years and years, it was like you were just saying earlier, negative thoughts coming into my brain. Oh, the things I got to do today. Oh God, I got to deal with it. And then by the time I got a shower, I'm kind of deflated, right?
Yeah.
Now what I do is I've got 3 things I do in the shower. So I took a neutral habit, and it was actually ended up being a negative habit because I was having negative thoughts. And I do 3 things. Number 1 is I say my mantra to myself, which is basically similar to the type of stuff you were saying. I focus on the things that I know are super important to me and the habits that I want to remember to do that day. And it kind of juices me up. Then I go right into what I'm grateful for.
Yes.
Humongous to remind yourself how lucky and how grateful you are. Because again, it's so easy to be like the fixed victim, right? Poor me. Why does it? But then you look around and you actually step back and you're like, wow, actually I'm pretty damn fortunate and I got a lot of great things. And you focus on those. And then I go, and as I'm actually doing these things, I'm stretching. That's my 3rd one. So I tore my my ACL a couple of years ago, and I have to do these stretches every morning. And at first I looked at it as this huge pain in the butt. Like I would have to do it like after I, like set aside time. Now I'm already in the shower. I'm doing these 2 things and I'm stretching. I'm not even thinking about the stretches because I've done them so far. There's like 5 that I do. And by the time I'm done with my shower, I've said my mantra, I've done my stretches, I've said what I'm grateful for. Then I got Alexa playing in the background.
Yes.
I've got Will's favorite tunes in the back. I get out and I'm fucking fired up, right? And then I go into my brushing and my flossing, which are other habits and these things. And everybody's going to have different ones. And so now, like, I look at my routines list, and there's still a few reds scattered in there, but I've been slowly but surely changing those reds and blacks into greens.
Amazing, amazing. And the shower is such a great time to make use of, because we do it every single day. So, why not make use of that time in the shower? Do something intentional during those 15, 20 minutes to set your day up for success. So I am...
Well, and you know what? You're clear now. So let's keep this going until it happens again.
Okay.
That was crystal clear.
Good.
Yeah. And then, right. So then I want to hear like the rest of you. Let's go through the rest of our morning routines. Then what I'll do is I go down, I make my coffee. I sit on the couch. I fill my kids' love tanks and mine and my dog, the snuggles and stuff before they're off to bed. And then I usually spend about 10, 15 minutes going through emails and just getting the ones out of the way that I know I need to respond to so that they don't distract me when I sit down at my desk, and prioritizing for the day. And I use this little acronym I came up with called CORE, C-O-R. And I basically say, okay, this is what I'm committing today. No matter what, I am going to get this done. Then the O stands for obstacles. What is an obstacle that might stand in my way? Like, if I had this on my list yesterday, which happens still sometimes, like, why didn't I get it done? What prevented me? And then I'm aware of that to make sure that I can overcome it. And then the R is for reward. I think how great it's going to feel. And sometimes I even offer myself a little reward. Like if I finish by 3:00, I'll go, hit some golf balls, or I'll take the day off early and go walk the dog or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
So go ahead. Yeah.
We have pretty similar systems, right? Because, in the morning, I dance every morning. And so research shows that just 12 minutes of exercise could increase your happy hormones, oxytocin. So dancing, it's so easy. You dance to 2 songs. And as you said, you have your Will's favorites on your Alexa. I have Rochelle's favorites too. Yeah. And so one of my favorites is a song by Celine Dion called I'm Alive. And so it's twofold. I love the song, but I'm alive is literally a reminder that I am alive. Like I woke up this morning, I am blessed. There are so many people who did not wake up this morning. And so I am dancing in my house, and I'm really just setting the tone, like high energy for my day.
Oh, I love that.
And I don't want to repeat what you just said, but what I will say to most people listening, I'll give an example. This morning, a friend of mine was calling very early, and it was unusual for her to call that early. I sent her to voicemail, and then she texted me and said she was laid off. And then I said, oh my God, I'll call you back soon. Immediately, I called, and she said, oh, I'm fine, everything will be well. I called her back an hour later, and her energy was just low. And I'm like, wow, but in your text, you sounded good. And she said, I spoke to a family member, and they started saying, what are you going to do? You're going to be so unproductive. And so what I will say to people who are listening, you have to be so mindful of who you are sharing your life with. It does not mean you're going to cut your friends and your family out, but you have to be very intentional about who you are seeking advice from. So there are some people who you're going to call and you know that they're going to uplift you, edify you, enhance your life. And then there's some people who, no matter what, they are always going to operate from fear. You are in control of who you are giving access to your life. And so, just like my friend, she was in a good mood, in a high vibrational energy space, and then she spoke to the family member who was vibrating low and took her energy down. So I will say this, who are you talking to on a daily basis? Look on your phone, look on your call log, look on your text messages. Are they making you feel good, or are they making you feel bad about yourself, right?
I love it. I love it. And this is exactly what I was saying at the beginning, where there's these universal principles and it's how we package it. And there's different ways to say it. I refer to this as, and I have an exercise where literally just make a list of the top 5 people that you spend the most, 3 to 5 people you spend the most time with. And I think it's actually, so I have a scoring system for these 5 core areas of your life, like mindset, relationships, health,
spirituality,
emotional health, physical health, career and finance, and then I kind of just do a quick grade of where do these people seem to stand based on, and then it's kind of if they're all 1s and 2s, and obviously family members, you can't necessarily, but you can't get away from, but you can decide how much time and energy you put into certain relationships. And you do really want to hang out with and talk and spend, if you're going to call somebody after you lost your job, who's going to lift me up? So she was smart to reach out to you. Unfortunately, this other family member got to her first, but it sounds like you probably helped turn it around after that.
Exactly. And you know what it is to Will? So as you were saying, mine is, it's a happiness inventory. Take inventory of your life. And so many of us are just allowing life to happen to us as opposed to happening to life. And so I'm like, okay, your happiness inventory. What's in your happiness toolkit? Are you even asking yourself, how happy are you? On a scale of 1 to 10, how happy are you? And it's something that you have to ask yourself on a regular basis. If you are an 8, great. But if you find yourself at a 5 or 4, okay, you need to go into that happiness toolkit and you need to do some work. It's just like your car. When the light comes on, you take it to the mechanic. You don't wait for the car to leave you on the side of the street. So similar to yourself, do your happiness inventory. Well, Rochelle, how happy are you feeling today? Today I'm feeling an 8. Oh, last week I was in number 4. And I said, oh, no, girl, we have to reset, recalibrate. I decided to join a new exercise class. I had to dig deep and get to the things that I know could restore my joy. And to listen, I'm a happiness expert, but it does not mean I'm happy all the time.
Right. Nobody is. It's not possible to be happy 100%.
Nobody's happy all the time.
Right.
But what I do know is how to acknowledge when I'm not feeling good and then reset my happiness vibrations, which is, I have control over it. Nobody can make you happy but yourself. People can add to your happiness, they could add to your joy, but ultimately you are the creator of your story. You are writing your best-selling novel. So you are the one with the pen, so you have the power to change it. And so I like to be very, very honest with people about when I do have my moments, because I do have my moments. But I also know, okay, Rochelle, what's bothering you? And as you said, you have your areas. It's finance. I'm like, okay, that's great. Exercise, feeling a little fat, maybe I need to work out more, stop eating so many carbs. Go through the list of the different areas of your life. Oh, personal relationships. How are the people making me feel? Do I need to schedule brunch with my girls? You have to be very intentional about how you are framing your life and how you're living day to day. You can't use the happiness that you had on Monday to keep you for the happiness on Friday. No, you have to refill that tank. Refill that tank every single morning. And that is a gift that you can continuously give to yourself if you're intentional and you really take the time to put yourself on your schedule. Yeah. Yeah.
And that morning ritual of the gratefulness. And like I said, I have my mantra, whatever it is, just something you can focus on that reminds you how great and good you have it, and how what you have on the agenda per day and how you're just going to kick ass and take names no matter what. And the obstacles are temporary roadblocks, just waiting for solutions. Right.
Exactly.
And right. Like you said earlier, you can't be happy all the time, but it's, one of my favorite sayings is from a movie called Vanilla Sky, a Tom Cruise movie from way back. It's very underrated in my opinion. A lot of people have never watched it, but
I've never seen it.
You should. It's real. It's trippy. It's really cool though. But anyways, there's this line where he says, "Without the bitter, the sweet just ain't as sweet," and that just stuck with me. That, like, as soon as I heard it, I was like, "Oh my god!" And it just, to me, like, I'm in the habit now of when something bad happens, I literally say that to myself, and it just kind of just takes the pressure off of like everything having to be perfect and me getting like frustrated with myself and my life that things aren't going, because it's like there's always going to be bitter. Like that's just part of life. But if everything was puppy dogs and ice cream all the time, then it wouldn't feel nearly as good when you do have the good times, right? And when things are going well and when you are starting to make progress. And so without the bitter, the sweet just ain't as sweet.
Exactly. And Will, I love that, because my own is all things work together for good. So when things are going bad, I'm like, okay, the Bible tells me in Romans 8:28, all things are working together for my good. And if I could pause long enough to look on the lessons, then I feel empowered. But not only that, this is why I'm a huge advocate of journaling, because sometimes you forget that you have overcome obstacles before. And so the same person, you, who was able to overcome that obstacle, you have the skill set and you have the emotional resiliency. But sometimes we need the reminder, which is why you may need to keep a resume of your wins on your phone. So every now and then you can look back on those iPhone notes and say, wait, but I was the girl who got through that hard breakup. And I was the girl who ran that hard marathon when I couldn't even run 1 mile, right?
Right.
Because you have to be your own cheerleader at times, because sometimes you may not have anybody to do it for you. And there's nothing like being able to look on your life as a testimony of what you're capable of doing moving forward.
I love that. I love that. Now, thank you. God, that's just nuggets. I like to, as we're starting to wrap up, I always like to get into, so I asked you and you wrote back, thank you, top 1 to 3 habits you've developed in your life and how you gamify them. When I say gamify, it's like kind of reduce the friction, come up with ways to make it easier for you to take them. So you had responded with number 1, unwavering self-belief, number 2, learning how to pivot, and number 3, using rejection as redirection and elevation. And how you gamified them, you wrote journaling to keep record of life's ups and downs, affirmations, continuously learning. Can you pick one of those and let's focus on that habit and then this gamification aspect, and just to give people a solid habit that they can walk away from here and work on, and maybe a way to kind of cheat the system to make sure that they actually form it?
Okay, so I'm going to use the rejection one, because rejection has been a blessing in my life. So many people, and understandably so, we hate failure, we hate not getting what we want. And so for me, not getting what I wanted in one season has opened up the door to my purpose, which is why I'm sitting here with you today. And so what I will say to anybody at any point in your life, whether it's a job that you didn't get, the school that you didn't get accepted to, the boyfriend or the girlfriend who broke your heart, I want you to really think about what and how did you grow and what did you learn from that season? Because if you take inventory, you'll realize that yes, not only did you have the resiliency to get through that season, but you became a better person because of it. And I think most times, as I said before, we forget that we have the tools and the skill set. And so what that means is go back into your database and remember, okay, I got that C in law school. Nobody has ever asked me about that grade ever again. So I made such a big deal when I got my first C in law school. I cried. Well, my family had to have like an emergency meeting, like, girl, if you don't stop right now, we will come and pick you up from Miami. And now I look back on that season, and what that taught me is that sometimes we create such a big deal about things in our lives, and it really, in the grand scheme of things, is just a drop in the bucket. It's a drop in the bucket. So if you could go back in your life and look on the things that you thought were just so hard in that season, and they were hard, but who did you become because of that? And that same person who got through that season is able to get through the next season. And think about the tools that you utilized then to get you through that season, whether it was prayer, whether it was journaling, whether it was getting a life coach, whether it's getting a therapist. Utilize those exact tools for this new season of rejection. Because just like how you made it through that season, I can tell you, you will make it through this season of rejection.
Yeah, no, I love it. And that's a perfect example of a game, like a life hack that you use, that it really does, it helps you. And I think that I know a lot of people it will help if they, and just to try it, because it's sort of like, what's the point of the pain if you're not going to learn anything from it? Otherwise, it's just wasted time, and not only wasted, but it actually is having you become less happy, and you dwell on it, and then you have the same types of issues over and over in your life, and you never grow. And growth is happiness. As humans, we have something in our DNA. It's literally something in our brains. We all have it, that if we're not making progress in some way, shape, or form in life, if we're not growing, we're going to be unhappy, right? And this is a big part of it, is learning from our mistakes and pivoting and growing. So I like that, of just literally taking yourself back and be like, okay, what happened there? How did I deal with it then? Okay, maybe I can take this piece. That seemed to work, but then I did this and that wasn't so great. I'm going to do this time. And then if you can develop like a system for every time you get rejected, and your mind's on autopilot with that, boom.
Yes. You know what, Will? And I know we have to wrap up, but there's one thing I want to really say to most people listening. It's not that they're unhappy. They're bored. They're bored with their lives. They're not growing. You know, most of us, we graduate from law school, from undergrad or graduate school, and then we never, ever go back into a system of learning. The internet is chocked full of information. There are so many courses that are free, so many books to be read, but most of us are just not stretching ourselves. So I'll say, think about it. Are you really that unhappy in your life, or is it that you're bored? You go to the same grocery store, you go to the same movie theater. Just shake your life up a little bit.
Shake it up, yeah.
Just shake it up. Shake it up. Yeah.
Shake it.
Yeah.
Well, I love it. Thank you, Rochelle, so much for being on. This was awesome. I knew I was going to get some great nuggets, and our viewers would as well.
Sorry about my internet connection.
It got perfect at the end. It actually worked out. It started to get bad, and then I talked for a minute, and then it came back. So it ended up great. Synergy. All right. Well, thank you so much. Let's be in touch.
For sure.
Good luck moving forward. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, everybody. Talk soon.
Okay. Bye, guys.
Bye.
That's it for the 5 Core Life. If you haven't already, go ahead and hit that like button on this video and pound that subscribe button so you get notified when new episodes drop. Also, please fill out the free 5 Core Life Evaluator Quiz. It's a great way to get a baseline of where you are in the 5 cores and which of the 5 cores you need support. In addition, you'll get some actionable advice that you can apply and start improving your life in the areas that you need it most. That's it for today's episode of the 5 Core Life Podcast. Have a wonderful day.
Get moving. Gain momentum. Join the movement. Join Emmett by going to moremomentum.com to take a free Life Evaluator Quiz on where you currently stand in each of your 5 cores.